We're glad to be sharing the ministry of Redemption Church with you. Now join us as we receive the Word of God.
Welcome everybody to Redemption Church in Plano, Texas. My name is Chris Fluitt, and I'm so glad everyone's here. I'm glad to have every one of you with us today. We are talking about your career, your calling, and your cause. And we are in the second week of this series, and last week, I'll remind you this week that we are studying the most amazing case study ever. A case study of 120 people who had no degrees. They had no capital backing. They had no government grants. But that 120 people grew an organization to over 2 billion people. What organization am I talking about? Not Microsoft, not Tesla. We're talking about the Church of Jesus Christ. Right. And what we're doing in this series, we're looking at the leadership lessons we get from that early church. Last week, we talked to you about how to become a leader. Do you remember what our definition for leadership was? Leadership is influence. Let's remember it. Everybody said influence. And what that means is that you have influence. Everyone has some level of influence. That means that everyone in here is a leader. It's not a question, are you a leader? The question is what kind of leader you will be. We told you that permission is better than position. And when somebody gives you permission to be their leader, that is way better than somebody giving you a position to be a leader. And we all know that because we've had jobs, we've had bosses that had no right being our manager. And so we didn't give them permission. But then there's people in our life we give permission to, and we say, yes, we want you to lead us, and yes, we want you to influence us. And that is what leadership is. We ended by telling you more obedience leads to more influence. Today, week 2, we're going to be talking about how to step up and to step out. But before we jump into that, can I just tell you my problem? And some of y'all are like, singular problem? Because we know you got more than one, right? But let me talk to you about my problem. I like to tell you that I'm not perfect. I've got my own issues. I got my own problem. Here's a problem I have often. Here it is. The phone rings. And on the other side of the phone, at any moment of the day, could be a very serious situation. Life-changing situation. Life-ending situation. And they can be completely random issues at the same time, right? We're talking about a kid died, a dog died. We're talking about lost our job, lost our house. We're talking about these kind of things, random kind of situations. You never know what is on the other side of a phone call. In my phone, I actually have 2 phones. I have my own personal line, and who knows what's going to come through that line. And then I've got the church line that also rings there, and you just never know what is on the other side of a phone call. That's a problem I deal with on the regular. And so I have this need to be instant, to be ready, to be knowledgeable, to be spiritual, to give an answer and address the situation. Maybe it needs conviction, maybe it needs inspiration. And how do you read all of that? How do you step up into that moment and be present at 2 a.m., at 2 p.m.? How do you take on the issue? How can you be there for another person when they really need it at that moment? That is not so easy. That's a problem I deal with all the time. How to step up. And then it's enough to step up, but how do I step out? Because there's a moment where they tell me what happens and there's silence. And I've got to fill the silence with something. You got to say something and you got to do something. What do I do? What do I say? These are the problems I deal with, not just on Sunday, but on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all these days. Do you know there are 31,102 verses in the Bible? And I'm like, which one do I quote? They are calling me. Which one do I quote? It's not so easy, can I tell you? And I want to also say that you can relate to this because you got your problems too, right? Our problems aren't so different, you and I, because you get phone calls out of the blue all the time. You get bad news that comes through that. You get, you have just lost your job. You get these bits of information. Some of you have been texted, we're through. That is an awful thing to receive. But let's take it to the job. You've been called into a meeting. Has anybody ever been called into a meeting and not know what the meeting's about? Can I tell you that's the worst? Can I also tell you this? If you ever call for a meeting with your pastor, please tell me what it's about. Don't make me wait a week. That's for me. Please tell me, okay? Just tell me, what is it? Because I will worry for a week if you go, hey, pastor, can we sit down and talk? I'm like, oh gosh, they hate me. Because that's where my mind's stupid like that. That's just where I go. But you're called into that meeting. Y'all know what that is like. You're called into the boss's office. There's that thing where they just step out the door and they go, hey, Chris, can you come into my office for a moment? And then they wait at the door for you. When they wait at the door for you, it's one thing if they just go ahead and go to the door, to the table and sit down behind the door. No, they wait to the door for you. They don't even ask you, hey, can you close the door behind you when you come in? No, they close the door themselves. That is the sound of impending doom. You know it. You know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you're called on in class. Oh, life just flashed before my eyes sometimes. I'm like, please don't call me. I don't know this one. I don't know. Do not ask. And there I am in Miss Mansfield's 10th grade class. And she asked me, can you define this, what is an onomatopoeia? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I have zip idea. And she goes, that's exactly right. That's what an onomatopoeia is. It's a noise that you make to describe a sound. Zip. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. All right. Boom. All right. Onomatopoeia. All right. Or your child asks you a question. What? Oh my gosh. Any of those questions. All right. I'm not going to name which kid it was, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. There was early on in a child's life in our home, about 4 years old, we're in the doctor's office and Sarah's filling out paperwork. And one of my sons comes up to me, 4 years old, and says, Daddy, what is sex? And my life just passed before my eyes right there. I'm like, I'm like thinking through these, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting it to happen so quickly. I'm like, oh my God, when a man and they love each other very much. And Sarah, thank God for Sarah. Somebody said, thank God for Sarah. My wife says, honey, where did you know this word? Where did you get this word from? He points down to the paper that she's filling out and says, right there. In your paperwork, it asks what sex you are. And she goes, oh, that just means, am I a boy or a girl? Thank God for Sarah. I was about, birds and bees, baby. We were about to go there. Thank God for that. But you know what it's like to have these situations where you have to be instant, where you have to have something to say, where you have to know what it is that you are to do, and you're pressured to respond. Or sometimes you're pressured to defend, because sometimes these things are attacks against you. They're attacks against your character, and they're attacks on why did you do this? And you're like, now you have to give an answer, and it's a very personal answer because it's a defensive one. Defending. The need to be instant, ready, knowledgeable, spiritual. Give an answer, conviction, and inspiration. You got all of that going on. That's our problem. Important moments, difficult moments, confusing moments, stressful moments. You know what all these moments are? They're leadership moments. They're moments that if you will come through this, you will be a different person. You'll be a leader. If somebody sees you come through this moment, they're going to look at you completely different. You have become a leader. How do you step out? Step out and not miss the moment. There's that moment for you to be a leader. And when you take that step, it's such a promotion moment for you. How do you do that? How do you step up, open your mouth, speak out, and not miss the moment? Acts 2 is filled with this. We've got Peter's moment. The Apostle Peter, one of those disciples, right? He's a disciple, hand chosen by Jesus. Jesus walks up to a fisherman dude and says, "Follow me." And then later, Jesus has this talk with this guy named Peter, and he says, "I give you the keys to the kingdom." And right there, he's marked as a leader. There is something special about this guy. There is something future-oriented about this guy. What this guy has been is not who this guy is going to be. And then that moment is followed by a lot of failure. He has this great moment where you're a leader. The keys to the kingdom are yours. And then he just proceeds to fail over and over again. He is sword swinging Peter. He is dumb question Peter. He is wrong answer Peter. He is lying coward Peter. He has denied Jesus 3 times in a single night Peter. He's all of these things. Filled with failure. Filled with failure. That's what he is. In Acts chapter 2, the Holy Spirit dramatically fills 120 people. And one of those people is Peter. And the Holy Spirit fills those people so dramatically. If you've never read it, I encourage you to read Acts chapter 2. And then let's talk about Acts chapter 2. Because if you've never read that chapter before, you're going to have lots of questions. We want to talk about it. Listen, that Holy Spirit infilling was so dramatic that a crowd formed. And let's read about that. Acts chapter 2, verse 12. Amazed and perplexed, they asked one another. This is the crowd. They asked, "What does this mean? What is this?" Verse 13. Some, however, made fun of them and said, "They have had too much wine." What's happening right here? It's one of those instant moments where you have to respond. It's an instant moment where you have to defend. If this thing is really from God, then he's got to tell them. And he's got to convince them. And if he doesn't convince them, he is failing the moment. You understand this? Verse 14, here's what happens. Then Peter stood up with the 11. Somebody say stood up. We're talking about stepping up right here. He stands up with the 11. The Peter that had all the failures. Sword swinging Peter, cuss at little women Peter, that guy. This guy stands up, and with the 12, he then addresses the crowd. So he steps up, and now he steps out. He is speaking, and he says, "Fellow Jews and all of those who live in Jerusalem, let me explain this to you. Listen carefully to what I say." That's his step up and step out moment. In this moment, he receives the criticism and he turns away the criticism and he gives them an answer. And does he succeed in this moment? You better believe he succeeds. The world is changed forever because one man stood up and stepped out, and he spoke, and people's lives were changed. How many people's lives were changed? 3,000 lives were changed that day. Our lives are still changed as we look at this story. On this day, they went from 120 to 3,000 people who were followers of Jesus. So here's our question today. How do you do that? Who wants to know how you do that? You can do that. That is not just Peter. In fact, I would tell you Peter was not gifted intangibly as a person to be able to do this. He was a fisherman. He was very crude. He was uneducated. He had none of that going for him. He never went to Toaster's class to learn how to give a really good speech. He didn't have a PowerPoint ready that he could give a 3-point plan. He did not have any of those things. So how do you do it? What do I do? What do I say? I want to tell you real quick, what we're talking about today is this: how to know what to do and say. If you could come out of here today knowing what to do and what to say in your life, how many thinks that would be pretty valuable? Because there are situations all over the place. Well, that's what I'm setting out to do today. So y'all pray for me. What to do and say. This pattern is all throughout Acts. We just talked about Acts chapter 2. They asked him, what's going on? You guys are drunk. And he then explains something to them. Do you know what he explains to them? Here's what happens. He's ridiculed in Acts 2, and his response is Jesus. He just talks to them about Jesus, about who Jesus is, how God sent Jesus into the world. And Jesus did miracles and wonders. And Jesus was crucified, and Jesus rose again. And that's his message. What is his message in one word? It's Jesus. And guess what? This pattern continues. They're questioned now in Acts chapter 3. What is all this about? Do you know how they responded? Jesus. They told them, well, it's actually Jesus that did this. It's him, it's faith in his name, and it's him that did this miracle. That's what they said. Jesus is the answer to that. And then in Acts chapter 4, they're interrogated. They're like, what does all this mean? And we're going to beat you up if you don't say the right thing. And you know how they responded? They responded, Jesus. Acts 4:12 says, neither is there salvation in any other, because there's no other name given among men whereby we must be saved. That name was Jesus. His answer there was Jesus. In Acts chapter 5, they're threatened by the Sadducees. Oh, and this time they back down and they just close their mouths. No, their response was the same. They went back to what they always go back to. They went back to Jesus. And in Acts chapter 6, they're accused of being racist. They're accused of not taking care of people and only taking care of some people that look and talk like them. And so you know what they did? They selected leaders who were filled with Jesus, who knew Jesus, who talked about Jesus, and they set them free to go do that work. And in Acts chapter 7, guess what? Someone's martyred. Someone is killed. He is stoned to death. His name is Stephen. And do you know how he responds as he's being persecuted and as he's being beaten? He says, I see Jesus. And he tells them about Jesus. Even in death, his response is Jesus. And in Acts chapter 8, Stephen's really good friend, Philip, we see him running for his life. And he runs through an area called Samaria. And you know what he does? He tells those people about Jesus. And he brings Jesus to a new community. Do you see the pattern? The pattern is that you have something to say, and every time something comes up, you say it. All right? Now, I'm not saying at the next board meeting when they're like, Charles, can you give us the numbers and let us know why there was a 10% increase in sales over the last quarter? I'm not saying in that moment you blurt out, Jesus! Right? Jesus helped us. We can. Let's all thank Jesus together for those good numbers. I'm not saying that you give a Sunday school answer to your boss at the next board meeting. Okay? I'm not telling you to do that. All right? But I want us to take the application of this. Here's the application. Always be on message. Say that phrase with me. Always be on message. Peter and the crew knew what to do and to say. They were always on the message. Here's what was so great. They didn't have to come up with a new message. They already had the message. Isn't it so great when you already have the thing to say and you already have the thing to believe and then you just say it? See, that's what they had. And through the rest of the book of Acts, it's just like that. They had the message and they were always on the message. They always said and did the same thing. And you would think that would get boring. Let me tell you, saying and doing the same thing when it is good it's going to benefit you, and it's going to be something you want to repeat. You got me? That is being on the message. If you have a winning message, stay on that message. Say it again. Say it in a slightly different way. Say it in the exact same way, because it takes a while for people to actually hear your message. There was no new invention required. They went with what was tried and true. And that is the application I want you to get today on your job, in your home, in your career, in your education. You need to always be on message. So now let's go to that stressful moment. That stressful moment, you are being called in to the boss's office. Your next words might decide if you still have a job, right? What do you do in that moment? You stand up, step out, and you deliver your message. You're asked a point-blank question at a meeting. Oh, those are really... You're in a room full of people, and somebody who has it out for you asks you a pointed question in front of your boss. Anybody ever have that happen? That happens. What do you do in that moment? Going back to message. Actually, it's so good that you asked that, Bernie. And now give him the message. That's your answer at all times. If you already have the message, you already have the answer. If you're asked for specifics, that can get really difficult, right? What are the specifics about these things, and how do we do these things? What you do in that regard is you do your best to offer the specifics in context of what? The message. It's not just spitting out numbers. They can look at a graph anytime. No, they're asking you a question, but what they really want to know is, how does this information fit in with something important? And that important thing is the message. If you're asked why, give message. If you're asked what, give message. If you're asked how, give message. That's most of what you're going to be asked in life. Most of these difficult things, most of these difficult moments on the job, in your education, over the phone, in your personal life, all of these things are answered by having a message. I want to tell you, the most dangerous you can get is to be off your message. The moment you're off your message, that's when it gets dangerous. Be careful when you get into political discussion. I would tell you it's off message. It's off message for you. We prayed about politicians, but we didn't pray about politics. That is not what we're about. That is off message. It's dangerous to get off message. Some of the things, gossip, off message. I don't have time for that. That is off message. That person hurt me, and now I'm going to talk about it and bring that up, even though that happened in the past and you've moved on. No, that is off message. It's dangerous to be off what? Message. But it's solid. It's profitable. It is promotion worthy to be on message. So here's the problem. Message? What are you talking about? What is the message? What do you mean, Pastor, by message? Do you have a message? Do you have that? And if you don't have that, you are in such a good place today, because we're going to talk about it. Do you have that message? What is that message? Are you good at delivering it? Are you ready to deliver it now? Because it does no good to be able to deliver it later. You have to be able to deliver your message now. Are you able to deliver your message? What is your message? So let's talk about that. What is your message? Here's your message. 3 things: your mission, your vision, and your values. Everybody say mission, vision, values. Now, define these. You need to be able to define them, and how to know what to do and what to say is all wrapped up into these 3 words, but you have to know what they mean. These are business terms, and yeah, we could just say, and some people just like throw out little cliche business terms. Well, you got to have synergy, and they have no idea what synergy is, right? Well, it's all about our values around here, let's just take some money out of the till and go to Starbucks. Like, what? That's not values. You have to know these terms. So let's talk about it real quick. Your mission is the what. Everybody say what. It's what you're trying to do. That's your mission. And the vision is how. How what? How you're going to accomplish the mission is your vision. Mission is the what. Vision is the how. And values is the behavior. It's how you're going to behave as you're accomplishing your mission and your vision. Does this make sense? I hope it does. Mission is the what. Vision is the how. Values is the behavior. Try to make it so easy. Somebody say it's easy. Easy like Sunday afternoon. Your career, your calling, your cause needs all of this defined. If you walk into your career and you don't know the what, and you're called into the boss's office and you don't know the how, and you're caught behaving poorly on the job, you are done. There's no promotion for you. There's not even a job for you at the end of the day. You get a wonderful parting gift. You get a cardboard box to carry all your stuff out in when you don't have these things understood in your life. But guess what? It goes beyond your career, calling, and cause. It also shows up in your family. Your family needs to know mission, vision, and value. Your church, Jesus, Redemption Church, we've got to have a mission, a vision, and values. Does that make sense? So let's talk about that real quick. Redemption Church has a mission. Here's Redemption's mission. We don't say this very often. It's a very general mission, but here it is. To help people find and follow Jesus. Very simple. Try to make it easy to remember and repeat. To help people find and follow Jesus. That's our mission. What's the mission again? It's the what. What are we trying to do as a church? We're trying to help people find and follow Jesus. Does Jesus have a mission? You bet he does. So let's look in the Bible and we would find Luke 19:10. Really simple little mission statement for Jesus. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. That's what he was trying to do. What are you doing, Jesus? He's doing this, right? He's not trying to start a business. He's not trying to start, a 5-person boy band and travel through Israel. That's not what he's trying to do. Tell me why. He's not trying to do that, right? He is trying to seek and to save the lost. And everything he did was that. And redemption, when we're at our best, everything we do is helping people find and follow Jesus. That's our what? That's our mission. Now, your mission is a general purpose. It's not very specific. It's very broad, right? Our mission does not tell us how we're going to do it. That mission right there doesn't tell you how he's going to do that. It doesn't mention the cross, doesn't mention healing people, doesn't mention feeding the large multitude or teaching truth. It's just the simple general what he's going to do. So your mission is very general and not specific, but it also is compelling. If your mission is a good one, it's compelling. And people go, tell me what? Tell me more. Say more about your mission. You need a compelling mission. Compelling to you, but also to the people that you share it with. And you need to be able to voice it in a way that people want to hear more and more about your mission. And here's the other thing. It needs to be clear. It needs to be understandable. We know exactly what Jesus is about here. You should know exactly what Redemption Church is about here, because we say it's all about helping people find and follow. What is that? Evangelism, finding them, and following. That's discipleship. Jesus Christ. So it's clear and it's compelling, but it's also very general. Mission is what we're doing. Vision is how we're going to do it. And it gets more specific. Let's look at it. Redemption's mission is to help people find and follow Jesus, but redemption's vision is to love God, grow faith, serve others, and go change the world. Is that more specific? Yeah, that gives you behaviors that we're doing. That tells you how we're going to fulfill that mission. Why? How? By loving God. We're going to actively love God. We're going to actively grow faith. We're going to actively serve others, and we're going to go change the world. That's our vision. That is how we're going to accomplish the mission. All right? Follow that. This also really helps us make decisions. Somebody comes up and they says, I have this great idea for our worship service to really get more engaged and really get people focused on who God is and go to a new place in God in their worship. I'm like, sign me up immediately. We don't have to have a board meeting about it. I already know that that's what we need to do. Why? Because our vision is to love God. Or somebody says, this is an idea to help us get outside the church and go serve others. How about on August 17th, we go to Minnie's food pantry and we hand out food to people and we serve people who are hungry. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. No, we already know about that. We've pre-decided how we're going to fulfill our mission, and it's to serve others. So this helps you to pre-decide all your choices and all your decisions. Sometimes you're the boss person or the manager person, and it's so difficult because you have to make a decision. And you're like, I don't know, should I make this decision? Shouldn't I make this decision? The problem with that is you are lacking a vision. If you have a vision, it becomes easy to make decisions. If you have a vision in your family that we're going to love people, we're going to love each other, and we're going to prioritize time with each other above our phones, right? And somebody says, hey, here's an idea. What if we had dinner and we had a no phone rule for dinner? You go, I don't know about that. No, you would say, yes, that fits our vision. Here's the problem. Too many times our behaviors are leading our vision. Our behaviors, our values should be following and be defined by our vision, which is overarched by our mission. And you need that in your home. You need that in your job. You need that in your personal life. You should have a vision for every part of your life. What if you had a vision for your physical health? What if you had a vision for every dollar you spent? It's called a budget, y'all. Vision for your health, that's called a diet, y'all. You need a mission, a vision. We'll talk about values in a second. But first, let's talk about Jesus' mission. We talked about that, right? For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Now let's talk about Jesus' vision. It's more complex. Remember, the mission is general. The how, the vision, is always more complex. And he says these words. He's actually quoting Old Testament prophet here. He says, the Spirit of the Lord, I believe this is his vision statement. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Do you see how that fulfills also his mission? And do you see how it is more specific? It says, I'm going to reach out to this kind of person, and I'm going to do this kind of thing. And I'm going to say these kind of things to this kind of person. You see that? That is a specific thing. Vision is what? Mission is how. As a Christian, we should understand and know the mission of Jesus and the vision of Jesus, and we should make it our own as well. Anybody agree with that? There's another word we could throw in here. It's goal. You need to have goals, and your vision speaks directly to goals. You should have not only an overarching goal for an organization like we have right here, we should have a weekly goal, a 90-day goal, a yearly goal. You should have a 5-year plan. People say a goal for that time. And so at all times, what if every person in your organization, think like maybe you're a manager and you're listening to this, or maybe you're a dad in a home, whoever you are, you've got people under you that you're serving. What if every person under your sphere of influence was working every day to fulfill a goal that week, a goal over the next 3 months, a goal in the next year, and a goal 5 years out? Would that be positive? Yes. Here's what we usually are trying to do. Let's get through the day. Monday, Tuesday. Let's go through the day. It's Wednesday. Let's get through the day. Let's get the work done and turned in. Let's just get it done. And that is not a vision. That's just work. That's not building anything. That's just barely getting by. You need a vision that is outlined, that is in front of you, and you're working towards it at several levels. The daily, the weekly, the monthly, the yearly. Do you have that kind of vision? For me, it looks like this. We baptized 4 people in April. Let's baptize more people in the next 3 months. You get that idea? We've already got people signed up for baptism. You want to know more about baptism? Sign up for it. We want to tell you about it. Now, what am I doing? Vision. Vision, right? If I only mention that once, how many people are going to get baptized? No, I mention it all the time. Do we mention our vision all the time? Yeah. Every service, multiple times. In fact, most of our sermon series are actually built around our vision. I'm sorry, I just let the cat out of the bag. No, a vision, any sermon series on worship, what is that about? Love of God. Any sermon series on discipleship, what is that about? Any vision on using your giftings for God to help other people, what is that about? Any vision, any sermon series I preach on about you doing something extraordinary for God, what is that? Guys, that's most of my sermon series. Please keep coming to church. I just laid it all out for you. But that's what we're doing. Why? Because we're vision-centered. And too many of us have no vision. Without a vision, we perish, the Bible says. We got to have a plan, and we got to work on it. And it's got to be compelling to us. And guess what? It's got to become compelling to someone else. And that's what leadership is. When we share it with others and they get on board with it, that is a leadership number. That's a leadership win for you. So how are you going to accomplish your goal? That's your message. That's what you're always coming back to. It could be very general, and sometimes we just hit it very general. Here's our mission. Sometimes we get down into the nitty-gritty, and that's vision. So you always need to be ready to stand up and talk about this. They have things called like elevator pitches. Do you know has anybody ever heard the term elevator pitch? It's where if you get in an elevator, can you tell them before they reach the 3rd level, which they're going to floor 3. Before they get to floor 3, can you tell them what it is that you do, and can you make it so compelling that they stick around and don't get off the elevator? That's an elevator. Do you have your vision, what it is you're trying to accomplish, what it is you're trying to do? Do you have it that solid in you and that compelling in you that you can give an elevator pitch? Can I tell you, it takes time to do that. If you aren't able to do that, I understand. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes process. There is one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. That's a book title. It's not the best title in the world, but it's a great book. One of those 21 irrefutable laws by John Maxwell is the law of process. I want to tell you that in order to get your mission and your vision clearly defined, clearly expressible to you, it takes process. You won't be able to do it on day one. We have not been able to do it on day one at all. We're still at very basic levels trying to understand and how to better proclaim our mission and vision. We're working on it all the time. We are in process. You're in process too. So let yourself be in process, okay? Somebody say it's okay. You're in process. You're working on it. But be ready to step up and step out. And that's what Peter was ready to do. That's what you need to become ready to do. Now let's talk about values. Values are the behaviors you reward in an organization. There are values that are negative, you don't reward those. In fact, you pass over people for promotion based on bad values. You understand? You listen to me. You never promote someone with bad values. But they're really good at the computer. Sure, they're really dishonest, but maybe we should put them in charge of finance. Don't do it. Somebody say don't. Don't do it. Don't do it. Values are the behaviors you reward. So what are your values? As a leader, you need to define your values. You need to be on the lookout for those embodying mission, vision, and value. I'm looking for somebody around this. Oh, I think I found them. There they are. I was about to say, where is Robert? Robert, come up here. Robert. You know what you do? Come here, Robert. Right here, Robert. We didn't run this by him at all.
I could tell.
Yeah, you could tell. You know what you do? When you find somebody that embodies the mission, the vision, and the values, you know what you do? You reward them. And you point it out. And you do it openly in front of everybody. This is Robert Cortez. Did y'all see him today over there playing?
Yeah.
You know what you didn't see? You didn't see him here an hour and a half before church started. Every week, helping to set up. This is a guy that's been around Redemption Church a long time. One of my favorite pictures in Redemption Church history. We're in a Chinese school, and Marshall's rocking some kind of Magnum PI shirt. Right? Sorry, that's dating myself. And he's carrying a ladder because we would go out and put up a very dangerous banner every day in order to try to save someone. And he was carrying this banner, and a very young Robert Cortez. Probably, how old were you?
8.
Oh my gosh, he was young, and he was helping to carry this ladder. And on the very end of that ladder is actually my first son, William Worth. And he's just like, I'm helping. I love that you've been around and helping us for so long. You are here before service. You're here after service. If there is anything I ever need done, you're someone I never hesitate to call on. You're so reliable. It's not much, but it is a Starbucks gift card. And it is a Guitar Center gift card. We love you. Let's scare it for this guy. Thank you, buddy. Awesome. Listen, if you see a behavior you want to repeat, you want it repeated, you reward it. Somebody say reward. Now say repeat. If you want it repeated, you reward it. Okay? That's one of those. Thank you, Robert. And there's people all over this place that are just like that, and I could have chosen you. But this guy is near and dear to my heart, and you were the one. Everybody say, always be on message. I'm going to ask our musicians to come as I'm bringing it to a close. This is really important for you. And there's so much to talk about, we just don't even have time to talk about it all. So if you would like to talk about this stuff, grab me. Let's have coffee. Let's talk about it. We can have coffee out there. If you would like to say, hey, help me make a vision for my life, I'm down for that. That is great. That's really exciting. Help me make a vision for my family. Let's do that. If you are a family, why don't you sit down, husband and wife, and talk about the vision for your family? What's the mission? What's the vision? And what's the values of our family? And clearly define them. Some of you know that there's something, it could be better. And what it is you are not applying, you're not accomplishing one of these important leadership things of mission, vision, or values. Now, here's what I know what you're already thinking, so I want to address it, okay? Address it before you ask it. Here it is. You're saying this, but the cool stuff, Pastor, neat stuff, really neat, we like it, but I work at a job without a clear mission. I work in a situation without a clear vision. My boss is a blah, and we don't have clear values. And so I'm under this thing. I don't own the building. I don't own all the say. And so we don't have that. And so here I am, I'm a little peon. Maybe I'm just working behind the register. Maybe I'm just, assistant to the regional manager. I'm not the regional manager. Maybe that's who I'm at. Maybe that's what you're thinking. I want to tell you this, that influence works at every level. You don't need position to use your influence, and your influence can bring about change. So none of this is an excuse, because leadership is influence. So here's something you can do. If you don't have a mission or a vision or values on your job, here's what you can do. Write your own and start forming your message. And whenever you get a chance to share your message, you share it. You workshop it. You take some time on it. You make sure it's compelling. You work on making it sticky. Do you know the term sticky? It's one of those terms for it's memorable. It sticks in your mind. You want a mission and vision that's repeatable. And it's exciting to say it again. And to see it even more exciting to see it accomplished. And then practice your message. I can't tell you this enough. Can I tell you? Just pull back the curtain for a moment. I have practiced this message before I gave it. I know it doesn't look that way, Vicky, but I did. I promise you I practiced it. I practice my message before I give it. There are times I looked in a mirror and I practiced my message. And I actually look at myself and I say, do I even believe myself? Because if I don't believe myself, how are they going to believe me? I've looked in a mirror and I've practiced my message. Can I tell you, that's not inauthentic? I'm telling you, that is making it serious and making it real and making it worth the time to put work in the process. Do you follow me? So if that's you today, practice your message. Practice it. You better practice it before you go into that board meeting. You better have the words to say. Not even have the words to say, but have it in your heart. Because there's something so much better than coming off of teleprompter, but speaking right from the heart, where you don't have to think about these words, that it comes straight out of you. Get that mission in your heart. Get that vision in your heart. Get those values in your heart. And that works at every level. As a follower of Jesus, I want to tell you this, that the mission of Jesus is powerful. When we start doing the mission of Jesus, we see lives transformed. We see drug addicts baptized and they're set free. We see homeless people get a hold of Jesus and turn their life around, all because of a mission. It's that powerful. And the vision of Jesus is life-changing. When we start learning how to live and how to treat each other and how to go into the world, it is life-changing. And the first life it changes is your own. I'm so excited when I see someone else's life change, but I never lose sight of this. In the process of seeing their life change, my life just changed again. I'm so excited. In a few moments, we're going to have an altar open, full of people, and some people are going to have their life changed, and I'm going to be one of them. God's going to change my life all over again because I'm living out the vision and the values of Jesus. Can I tell you, they're rewarding. What was that word I told you? When you see someone living out the behavior, you reward what you want. Repeat it. I'm telling you that God rewards us when we have the behavior He wants repeated. Can I tell you a behavior He wants to reward today is forgiving somebody today, loving someone today, serving someone today, being generous to someone today. Heaven notices that value. And God rewards what He wants repeated. God's power is attached to His message. We see that so clearly in the book of Acts. We see that after they preached, God would confirm His word through miracles, through signs, through wonders. Power is attached to his message. This works in every area, not just spiritual. Of course, we could argue everything is spiritual, right? But not just in a church building, but in your career, this works. In your family, this works. In your relationships, this works. In your health, this works. In your education, this works. So what do? Have you been stuck? It's time to go. Everybody in this place, would you please stand with me? I want you to start preparing your heart to make a stand. Don't come yet. I want to give you 3 things to do today. In a few moments, we're going to be worshiping. You could be right where you are worshiping, but I want you to do one of these things, okay? Number 1, I want you to answer this in your heart. Do you have a message? Do you know what it is? Have you defined it? Do you have it written down? Can you repeat it? Define that message. Pray for direction. If you don't have that message, then you should pray for direction in your life today. God wants to give you that mission, that vision, and address your values. He wants to do that. So maybe that's something you pray about today. Number 2, are you stepping up and stepping out? Is that you? Are you missing the moments to be a leader? Do you have a friend you've never shared Jesus with? Or do you have a job where you have an idea, you've never shared it? Are you stepping up? Are you stepping out? Are you living it? Are you living what your mission is and what your vision is? Because if you're living it, you're going to be bringing increase to your job. You're going to be speaking to your boss and giving him valuable things. And when you start becoming valuable to your boss, you know what he does? He starts paying you. He gives you more. He gives you a higher level of access because you become valuable. Your mission and vision and values make you valuable. So are you living it? Start today. If you haven't started, you can start today. And by coming to this altar, you say, God, some of this stuff I'm just not ready for, but God, I'm going to start today. And what you start today, let's come back a week from today. Let's come back 90 days from today. Let's come back a year from today and see what God does. Number 1, you have the message. Number 2, are you stepping up and stepping out? Number 3, do you need help? If you need help, I want you to come to this altar today and ask for help. Ask God for help. Ask a brother and sister for help. Ask someone to pray with you. Ask, number 1, because God cares. Ask because we care. Do you know I care about your job? I do. I want to know about your problems on your job. I want to pray for you. I want to see you overcome. I want to see you do great new things. Pray, seek God. Pray, seek God. These altars are open right now in this place. Who wants to take a step? Y'all come on right now. Dream team, come. Let's pray. Let's reach out to the Lord in this place. I'm going to pray for everybody watching and listening online. And when I open my eyes, I'm hoping to see people ready to take their next step in Jesus Christ. Father, Lord, I thank you for everybody watching and listening online. Lord, I want you to get a hold of our lives, God. I want you to do great things among everybody watching and listening online. Lord, I want us to have godly missions in our life and visions, God. Lord, I want us to have values, Lord, that are behaviors that are good in our job and good in our relationship with you. Lord, I pray, Lord, that everybody watching and listening online would start to pray right now that God would reveal to them a good future for them and reveal to them a better career for them and reveal to them different parts of their life that have been kind of out of whack. Their health, God, their spiritual life, their heart, their relationships, God. Lord, our mission and our vision that is from you can solve all of that. Make that change in our life. Come on, Redemption Church, let's reach out to God in this place. Let's worship him. Let's ask God to do great things in our life right now in Jesus' name.
For more information about Redemption, look us up online at redemptionplano.com. We want to hear more from you, so be sure to connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or even our anonymous text line at 469-651-1178. Thanks for joining us, and have a blessed day.